Want to do a very quick video on how a turbocharger works on any engine, but specifically for marine diesel engines. So naturally aspirated diesel engines or naturally breathing engines, those are i.e. not turbocharged. How do they get air in the cylinder? Well, when the piston comes down, it actually draws the air in, just like a suction would be on a syringe, right? You're doing the same thing. Now, there are a lot of limitations to that system. Number one is you're only putting, essentially, on a perfect day, you're putting in exactly the amount of air that the space is on the cylinder. But realistically, it's actually less than that because everything's hot, right? Hot air expands, cold air contracts, right? That's an important distinction to keep in mind. Now, the idea of a turbocharger is if we can cram more air into that cylinder, we can burn even more fuel, right? We can burn more and then therefore get more power. So what a turbocharger is doing is it is pumping air at pressure into that cylinder and trying to cram in more air than what that cylinder would normally do in a syringe. So if you had a syringe kind of setting, thinking about it, you'd be putting in 2 times the amount of air in that syringe as what would normally be able to fit there. Now, the interesting and the super clever thing about a turbocharger is it is using waste gas, i.e. the heat of the exhaust after combustion, to basically power the fan that is pumping through. That is a good thing and a bad thing. Number one, the good thing about it is it's using free energy, right? The energy is already going out the exhaust muffler. You're just taking that energy and using it to compress air. So that's the great thing about a turbo. The downside is it tends to have a lag. As you hammer on that engine in your truck or whatever, it takes a second for that exhaust gas to increase. And in the time that it's increasing, you have a lag, right, before you get the boost of the turbocharger. And that is the main distinction between a supercharger and a turbocharger. You might have heard, oh, this jet ski's supercharged or this motorcycle's supercharged. Superchargers are directly driven generally by a chain or belt off of the engine itself. What's the advantage of that is that it's instantaneous difference, right? You come up, that pump comes up faster, and suddenly you're getting more air and more power. The downside of a supercharger is taking engine power away, right? It's actually pulling off the engine itself. Generally not much, but it is pulling some power off the engine, whereas a turbocharger is entirely free energy on the exhaust manifold. So that's how a turbocharger works.